My name is Maya Torres. I'm 29 years old, and on March 14th, 2025, at 6:47 p.m., I walked into my mother's house in Pasadena, California, and told my family I'd been laid off from my job at North Star Digital Marketing after 7 years with the company. My mother looked up from her phone and said, "Who's going to pay my car loan now?" Not, "Are you okay?" Not, "What happened?" Not, "How can we help?" Just, "Who's going to pay my car loan?" My sister Vanessa was sitting on the couch next to her fiancé, Derek. She stood up, walked to the hallway closet, pulled out 2 empty boxes, and started carrying them toward my old bedroom upstairs. The bedroom I'd been living in for the past 18 months while I helped my mother with bills. "What are you doing?" I asked. "Derek and I are getting married in October," Vanessa said, not looking at me. "We need a place to live. Mom said we can have this house. You'll need to move out by the end of the month." I stared at my mother. She was scrolling through her phone like we were discussing dinner plans, not kicking me out of the house I'd been paying rent for, plus covering her $680 monthly car payment, her $420 cable and internet bill, and half her mortgage. "Mom," I said, "I just lost my job." "I know," she said, without looking up. "That's why Vanessa needs this house more than you do. She has Derek. They're building a future. You're 29 and single. You'll figure something out. You always do." I stood in that living room, the same living room where I'd eaten Christmas dinner for 29 years, where I'd helped my mother recover after her knee surgery in 2023, where I'd written her $680 checks every month for 3 years to cover a car loan on a 2022 Lexus RX she couldn't afford, but bought anyway because her book club friends all drove luxury SUVs. I didn't tell them about the company. The LLC registered in my name since 2021. Torres Media Consulting, the one I'd been building quietly for 4 years while working my full-time job. The one that had generated $340,000 in revenue last year. The one that currently had $890,000 in the business account and 12 active clients paying me a combined $47,000 per month. I didn't tell them about the beach house, the 3-bedroom property in Oceanside I'd purchased in February 2024 for $1.1 million. The one I'd paid for in cash using money I'd saved and invested since I was 22. The one that was currently rented out on Airbnb, generating $9,200 per month. I didn't tell them that losing my job at North Star was the best thing that had ever happened to me, because now I could go full-time on the business I'd been running in secret for years. I just looked at my mother and said, "I'll be out by Friday." 6 hours later, at 12:52 a.m. on March 15th, my mother called me 17 times. By the time I answered on the 18th call, she was crying so hard I could barely understand her. "Maya, you have to fix this," she sobbed. "Everything is gone. The accounts are frozen. The house is in foreclosure. Vanessa is threatening to sue me. You have to fix this." I sat in my car in the parking lot of a 24-hour Denny's in Alhambra, phone pressed to my ear, and I said 5 words I'd been practicing my entire life. "I can't help you anymore. Before I tell you what happened in those 6 hours, hit like and subscribe. But only if this story genuinely resonates with you. Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from right now and what time it is there. I read every single one. I want to know. This is reaching people in London at breakfast, and night shift workers in Denver, and anyone who's ever been treated like an ATM by their own family. Now, let me take you back to where this really started. Not the night I lost my job. That was just the catalyst. This story starts 7 years earlier, in 2018, when I was 22 years old, and my father left my mother for a woman named Jennifer. He'd met at a real estate conference in San Diego. We lived in Pasadena, a city in Los Angeles County where the Rose Parade happens every New Year's Day, and the median home price is $1.2 million. Our house was a 3-bedroom Spanish-style bungalow on El Molino Avenue that my parents had bought in 1993 for $287,000. By 2018, it was worth $980,000. My father, Carlos Torres, had worked as a commercial real estate broker for Marcus and Millichap, making between $180,000 and $240,000 a year, depending on commissions. My mother, Patricia Torres, worked part-time as a receptionist at a dental office on Colorado Boulevard, making $32,000 a year. Vanessa, my older sister by 4 years, had graduated from UCLA in 2016 with a degree in communications and a 2.9 GPA. She'd moved back home immediately after graduation and gotten a job as a marketing coordinator at a boutique fitness studio in Old Pasadena, making $48,000 a year. She still lived at home. She paid no rent. My mother did her laundry. I was different. I'd graduated from Cal State Fullerton in 2017 with a degree in business administration and a 3.84 GPA. I'd gotten a job at North Star Digital Marketing, a mid-sized agency in Burbank, starting at $54,000 a year as a junior account manager. I'd moved out immediately, renting a studio apartment in Glendale for $1,650 a month. I packed my own lunches. I drove a 2009 Honda Civic I'd bought used for $8,200. I saved 30% of every paycheck. When my father left in March 2018, everything fell apart financially. The divorce settlement gave my mother the house, but also the mortgage. $2,840 per month. My father had been paying it from his income. My mother's $32,000 salary couldn't cover it. She also got his car, a 2016 Toyota Camry, with $380 monthly payments remaining. She couldn't afford that either. Within 3 months, she was behind on everything. The mortgage, the car payment, the utilities, the credit cards. In June 2018, she called me crying. "Maya, I'm going to lose the house. I don't know what to do." I was 22 years old, making $54,000 a year, living in a $1,650 studio, and trying to build a life. But she was my mother, so I helped. I started sending her $600 a month. It wasn't enough to cover the mortgage, but it helped with utilities and groceries. Vanessa, who was 26 and living rent-free in the house, contributed nothing. When I asked her why, she said, "I have student loans. I can't afford to help." Her student loans were $180 a month. She spent more than that on brunch every weekend. By 2019, I'd been promoted to account manager at North Star. My salary increased to $68,000. I started sending my mother $800 a month. By 2020, I was a senior account manager making $79,000. I sent her $1,000 a month. By 2021, I was making $92,000 as a team lead. I sent her $1,200 a month. In 2021, something else happened. I started my own business, Torres Media Consulting. I registered the LLC in January 2021. It cost $70 to file in California. I built a website using Squarespace for $16 a month. I started reaching out to small businesses that couldn't afford North Star's $8,000 monthly retainers, but still needed digital marketing help. My first client was a family-owned bakery in Alhambra. They paid me $1,200 a month to manage their Instagram, run Facebook ads, and send email newsletters. My second client was a real estate agent in Arcadia who paid me $1,800 a month for the same services. By the end of 2021, I had 8 clients. And I was making $11,400 a month from my business on top of my $92,000 salary from North Star. I didn't tell my family. I knew what would happen. They'd ask for money. They'd treat my business income like a family fund. So I kept it quiet. I worked my full-time job from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Then I worked on my business from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. every weeknight and 6 hours every weekend. By 2022, Torres Media Consulting had 14 clients and was generating $23,800 per month. By 2023, I had 18 clients generating $38,600 per month. I was still working at North Star, still getting promoted, still sending my mother money every month, but I was also building something she knew nothing about. In February 2024, I did something I'd been planning for 2 years. I bought a beach house, a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom property in Oceanside, just 90 miles south of Pasadena, 2 blocks from the ocean. The property was listed at $1.15 million. I offered $1.1 million cash. The seller accepted. I closed in 18 days. I'd saved $490,000 from my business over 3 years. I'd invested $340,000 of that in index funds and high-yield savings accounts. The other $150,000 I kept liquid. I took out a loan for $650,000 at 5.8% interest, put down $450,000, and kept $40,000 for renovations and furnishing. I spent 6 weeks painting, updating fixtures, buying furniture from IKEA and Wayfair. Then I listed it on Airbnb and VRBO. The house booked immediately, $385 per night average. I blocked off 24 nights per month for rentals, keeping 6 nights for myself. At 24 nights per month, I was generating $9,200 in revenue. After mortgage, $3,890, utilities, $320, cleaning fees, $480, HOA, $290, year and platform fees, $640, I was netting $3,580 per month, plus building equity. I still didn't tell my family. I knew they'd ask to use it. They'd treat it like a free vacation house. They'd invite friends, throw parties, leave it trashed. So I kept it secret. I'd drive down on weekends I had blocked off, sit on the deck, watch the ocean, and breathe. In August 2024, my mother bought a new car. Not a sensible car? A 2022 Lexus RX 350, midnight blue, leather interior, every upgrade. Price tag, $58,400. She put down $3,000 and financed $55,400 at 7.2% interest over 84 months. Monthly payment, $680. She called me the day after she bought it. Maya, I got a new car. Come see it. I drove to Pasadena that evening. The Lexus was parked in the driveway, gleaming under the streetlights. Mom, how are you paying for this? It's only $680 a month, she said. I can afford that. You make $32,000 a year. After taxes, that's maybe $2,200 a month. Your mortgage is $2,840. How are you affording a $680 car payment? She waved her hand dismissively. Vanessa's helping. Vanessa was inside watching TV. I went in and asked her directly, Are you helping Mom with the car payment? Not really, Vanessa said, without looking away from the screen. I told her I'd help if I could, but I have wedding expenses coming up. I looked at my mother. So, who's paying for the car? She didn't answer directly, but the next month, she asked me to increase my monthly contribution from $1,200 to $1,500. Just temporarily, she said, until I get my hours increased at work. Her hours never increased, but I kept sending $1,500 a month, which meant I was covering her car payment plus $820 toward other bills. In September 2024, my mother's refrigerator broke. She called me crying. It's going to cost $2,400 to replace. I don't have that kind of money. I bought her a new refrigerator, $2,190 from Home Depot, delivered and installed. In November 2024, her roof started leaking. The repair estimate was $6,800. I paid it. In January 2025, her property taxes came due. $9,600 for the year. She couldn't pay. I covered it. By March 2025, I'd given my mother $52,340 over 7 years, not counting the refrigerator, the roof, the property taxes. If I added those, the total was over $70,000. Vanessa had contributed $0. On March 14th, 2025, at 3:47 p.m., I was called into a conference room at North Star Digital Marketing. My manager, a woman named Stephanie Chen, and the HR director, a man named Paul Rodriguez, were sitting at the table. Maya, we need to talk about restructuring. I knew immediately what was coming. North Star had lost 2 major clients in February. The company was cutting costs. We're eliminating several positions, including yours. Your last day is today. We're offering 4 weeks severance plus payout of your remaining PTO, which comes to $18,600. I'd been with North Star for 7 years. I'd brought in over $3.2 million in revenue. I'd managed 14 major clients. I'd mentored 6 junior employees, and they were letting me go with 4 weeks severance. I cleaned out my desk in 20 minutes. I drove to my apartment in Glendale. I sat on my couch and stared at the wall. Then I thought about my business. Torres Media Consulting, 12 active clients, $47,000 per month in revenue, and our $890,000 in the business account. I didn't need North Star. I'd been keeping the job because it felt safe, because it looked respectable, because I didn't want to explain to my family why I was leaving a stable job. But the job wasn't stable. The job had just fired me. My business, the one I'd built in secret, was more stable than the job had ever been. I picked up my phone and called my mother. Mom, I need to tell you something. I was laid off today. Silence? Then, what do you mean laid off? The company is restructuring. They eliminated my position. Today was my last day. Another pause. Then her voice, sharp and accusatory. Who's going to pay my car loan now? I sat there holding my phone, processing what she just said. I just told her I lost my job, and her first response was about her car payment. Mom, honey, I just lost my income. You'll find another job. You're smart. But in the meantime, I still have bills. That Lexus payment is due on the 1st. You can't just stop helping me because you got fired. I didn't get fired. I was laid off. Same thing. Look, Maya, I'm sorry this happened, but I can't afford to miss that payment. My credit is already bad from the divorce. I need you to keep helping until you find something else. I drove to Pasadena. I needed to have this conversation in person. I got there at 6:47 p.m. My mother was in the living room with Vanessa and Derek, Vanessa's fiancé. Derek worked in tech sales, making $95,000 a year. He drove a Tesla Model 3. He wore a Rolex his parents had bought him for his 30th birthday. I told them what happened. My mother's response was the same. Who's going to pay my car loan? Then Vanessa stood up. She walked to the hallway closet, pulled out 2 empty moving boxes, and started walking upstairs toward my old bedroom. "What are you doing?" I asked. She didn't stop walking. "Derek and I are getting married in October. We're moving in here. Mom's letting us live here rent-free for the first year while we save for a down payment on our own place. You'll need to move out." I followed her upstairs. She was already in my room, opening my closet, pulling clothes off hangers. "Vanessa, I live here." "You've been living here temporarily," she said. "It's been 18 months. You're 29. You need your own place anyway. This works out for everyone." "I pay $900 a month in rent here. And I'm getting married. I need this space." Mom agreed. I went back downstairs. My mother was still on the couch, scrolling through her phone. "Mom, you're kicking me out?" She looked up. "Maya, don't be dramatic. You're not being kicked out. You're just moving. Vanessa and Derek need to start their lives together. You'll find an apartment. You always land on your feet." "I've been paying you $1,500 a month for years." "I know, and I'm grateful. But Vanessa's family now. She's building something. You're still figuring things out." Still figuring things out. I was 29 years old with a business generating $47,000 a month. Vanessa was 33 with $6,200 in her checking account and a fiancé whose parents paid for everything. But my mother saw Vanessa as successful because she was getting married, and she saw me as lost because I was single. "I need to be out by when?" I asked. "End of the month," my mother said. "That gives you 2 weeks? That's plenty of time." I stood there in the living room, looking at the 3 of them. My mother, scrolling through Facebook. Vanessa, packing my things without permission. Derek, sitting on the couch looking vaguely uncomfortable but saying nothing. "Okay," I said. "I'll be out by Friday." My mother looked up. "Friday? That's in 2 days." "You said I need to leave. I'm leaving." "Maya, don't be dramatic. You have 2 weeks." "I don't need 2 weeks," I said. "I'll be out by Friday." I left. I drove back to my apartment in Glendale. I sat on my couch and I made a decision. I was done. Done helping, done funding their lives, done being treated like a backup plan. I opened my laptop. I pulled up the spreadsheet I'd been keeping for 7 years. Every dollar I'd sent my mother, every payment I'd made, in every bill I'd covered, $70,318. Then I opened my business financials. Torres Media Consulting, $890,000 in the account, 12 clients, $47,000 per month. I opened my personal investment accounts, $340,000 in index funds, $890,000 in the business account. The beach house in Oceanside, worth $1.1 million with $650,000 remaining on the mortgage. Equity of $450,000. Total net worth, approximately $1.68 million. I was 29 years old. I was a millionaire, and my family had no idea. I called my accountant, a man named David Wu, who'd been handling my business taxes since 2021. "David, I need to move money, tonight." "What's going on?" "I'm going full-time on the business. I need to restructure everything, and I need to make sure my family can't touch any of it." We spent 3 hours on the phone. By midnight, we'd moved $800,000 from the business account into a newly created business investment account that required dual authorization to access, me and David. We increased my business liability insurance. We set up an operating agreement that made it clear Torres Media Consulting was a single-member LLC with no other beneficiaries or partners. Then I did something else. I logged into my mother's bank account. I had access because I'd set up online bill pay for her 3 years ago and she'd never changed the password. I looked at her transaction history. The car payment, $680, auto pay from her account every month on the 1st. Except it wasn't coming from her account. It was coming from mine. I'd set up an automatic transfer 18 months ago, $680 on the 29th of every month from my checking account to hers. In time to clear before the Lexus payment hit on the 1st. She'd been telling people she was paying for the car herself. She'd been bragging to her friends about her Lexus. And she'd never once acknowledged that I was the one making the payments. I canceled the automatic transfer, effective immediately. I also canceled the $1,500 monthly transfer I'd been sending for years. Then, I looked at the mortgage. My mother's name was on it, but I'd been contributing $900 a month in rent that she'd been using to cover part of the payment. I stopped that too. The cable bill, $420 per month, had been auto-paying from my credit card since 2022. I removed my card and added her bank account instead. By 12:30 a.m. on March 15th, I'd cut off every automatic payment I'd been making. The car, the mortgage contribution, the cable, the utilities I'd been covering, all of it stopped. I didn't tell her. I just stopped. Then I packed. I'd been living in my Glendale apartment for 7 years, but I'd been staying at my mother's house for the past 18 months to help her after the divorce. Most of my things were still in Glendale. I packed the rest in 90 minutes, clothes, laptop, files, the few personal items I'd kept at my mother's house. By 2 a.m., everything was in my car. I drove to my apartment in Glendale. I unloaded. I sat on my couch in the dark, and I waited. At 6:47 a.m. on March 15th, the Lexus payment tried to process. There was no money in my mother's account to cover it. The payment bounced, overdraft fee, $35. At 8:30 a.m., the cable bill tried to process from her account. It bounced, another $35 fee. By 10 a.m., my mother had $70 in overdraft fees and no money to cover the payments she thought were on auto pay. She called me at 10:47 a.m. I didn't answer. She called again at 11:15 a.m. I didn't answer. She texted at 11:52 a.m. Maya, my car payment bounced. Did something happen with the transfer? I didn't respond. She called at 12:30 p.m. I answered. Maya, what's going on? My car payment didn't go through. I know, I said. I canceled the transfer. Silence. You what? I canceled the automatic transfer. I'm not paying for your car anymore. Maya, you can't just do that without telling me. The payment bounced. I have an overdraft fee. You'll have to cover it yourself. I don't have the money. Then you shouldn't have bought a $58,000 car. I need that car. You need a car. You don't need a Lexus. Sell it. Buy something you can afford. I'm not selling my car. Then figure out how to pay for it. She hung up. At 2 p.m., she called again. This time she was crying. Maya, please, I made a mistake. I shouldn't have said those things last night. I was stressed. I didn't mean it. You told me to move out so Vanessa could have the house. I was just trying to help Vanessa. She's getting married. She needs stability. And I don't? That's not what I meant. What did you mean, Mom? She didn't answer. I've been paying your bills for 7 years, I said. I've given you over $70,000. I bought you a refrigerator. I fixed your roof. I paid your property taxes. And the night I lose my job, you ask who's going to pay your car loan. Not if I'm okay. Not how you can help. Just who's going to pay your bills. I'm sorry. You're not sorry. You're panicking because the money stopped. That's not fair. It's accurate. At 4:30 p.m., Vanessa called. Maya, what the hell did you do? I stopped paying Mom's bills. You can't do that. She's freaking out. She can't afford the house without your help. Then maybe she should sell it. She's not selling the house. Derek and I are moving in. Good luck paying the mortgage. We're not paying the mortgage. We're living here rent-free. So who's paying it? Silence. Exactly, I said. You expected me to keep paying it while you lived there for free? You're being selfish. I'm being done. Mom needs help. Mom needs to downsize and live within her means. So do you. Derek and I are building a life together. So am I. And I'm doing it without using you as a bank. She hung up. At 6 p.m., Derek called. That surprised me. Derek had never called me in the 2 years he'd been dating Vanessa. Maya, I think there's been a misunderstanding. There hasn't. Your mom is really stressed. Vanessa is stressed. I think if we all just sit down and talk. Derek, how much money have you given my mother? Pause. That's not really the point. It is the point. How much? I haven't given her money directly, but I've helped Vanessa, and Vanessa helps your mom. How much has Vanessa given her? Longer pause. I don't know exactly. I do. 0. Vanessa has given her $0 in 7 years. I've given her $70,000. And you two were planning to move into that house rent-free while I kept paying the bills. We didn't know you were paying all of that. Yes, you did. He hung up. At 8 p.m., my mother called again. Maya, I just got a notice from the mortgage company. I'm 2 months behind. That was news to me. I'd been paying $900 a month, but the mortgage was $2,840. I'd assumed she was covering the rest. How are you 2 months behind? I've been struggling since the divorce. I thought I could catch up, but you bought a Lexus while you were 2 months behind on your mortgage? I needed reliable transportation. You had a perfectly reliable Toyota. I traded it in for a car you can't afford. Can you help me catch up? No. Maya, please. They're going to foreclose. Then sell the house. I'm not selling my house. Then figure it out. I hung up. At 10:30 p.m., Vanessa texted me. You're destroying this family. I didn't respond. At 11:45 p.m., my mother texted. I can't believe you're doing this to me. I turned my phone off. At 12:52 a.m. on March 16th, I turned my phone back on. I had 23 missed calls, 17 from my mother, 4 from Vanessa, 2 from Derek. I had 14 text messages. The last one from my mother at 12:48 a.m. said, everything is gone. The accounts are frozen. The house is in foreclosure. Vanessa is threatening to sue me. You have to fix this. I called her back. She answered on the first ring. Maya, thank God. You have to help me. I tried to transfer money to cover the mortgage and the account is frozen. No, I called the bank and they said there is a lien on the house. I don't understand what's happening. What do you mean there's a lien? I don't know. The bank said something about unpaid property taxes from 2023, but I thought you paid that. I paid the 2024 taxes in January. What about 2023? You told me you paid 2023. I thought I did. Mom, property taxes are $9,600 a year. Did you pay them or not? I don't remember. Maybe I missed a payment. I don't know. Los Angeles County doesn't mess around with property taxes. If you're delinquent for more than a year, they can put a lien on your house and start foreclosure proceedings. How much do you owe? The notice says $11,470. That's the taxes plus penalties and interest. And you don't have it. No. Can you borrow it? From who? I already owe money to 3 credit cards. My credit score is 580. No one will lend to me. What about Vanessa? She doesn't have it either. Derek's parents cut him off last year after he bought the Tesla. They said he needed to be more financially responsible. I sat in my apartment in the dark, phone pressed to my ear, listening to my mother cry. You have to fix this, Maya. Please, I'll lose the house. I can't fix this. Yes, you can. You always fix things. Not this time. Why not? Because I'm done, Mom. You're done? What does that mean? It means I'm not paying your bills anymore. I'm not bailing you out. I'm not funding your lifestyle. I'm done. But I'm your mother. And I've given you $70,000 over 7 years. I've paid for your car, your roof, your taxes, your cable. I've covered your mortgage. I've done everything I could. And the night I lose my job, you ask who's going to pay your car loan. You didn't ask if I was okay. You asked about your bills. I was upset. So was I, but you didn't care. That's not true. Then tell me one thing you've done for me in the last 7 years. Silence. You can't, can you? I gave you a place to live. I paid you $900 a month in rent. I let you stay here when you needed help. I stayed here to help you. More silence. I can't help you anymore, Mom. You need to sell the house, pay off the lien, and find somewhere you can actually afford. I can't sell this house. This is my home. Then you'll lose it to foreclosure. Maya, I have to go. I hung up. She called back immediately. I didn't answer. She called 6 more times. I turned my phone off. The next morning, March the 16th, I woke up at 7 a.m. I made coffee. I sat at my kitchen table and opened my laptop. I had emails from 3 of my clients asking about projects. I had a payment notification from one of my retainer clients, $3,800 deposited into my business account. I worked for 6 hours straight. I responded to emails. I scheduled social media posts. I analyzed ad performance. I invoiced 2 clients for additional services. By 1 p.m., I generated $4,600 in new revenue. My phone, still off, sat on the counter. I didn't turn it on. At 3 p.m., I drove to Oceanside, to my beach house, the one my family didn't know about. I parked in the driveway, walked up to the front door, unlocked it, and stepped inside. The house was clean. The cleaning service had been there that morning after the last guest checked out. The next guest wasn't arriving until Friday. I had the house to myself for 3 days. I walked out to the deck. The ocean was gray-blue under overcast skies. The sound of waves was steady, rhythmic, calming. I sat in one of the Adirondack chairs I'd bought from Home Depot and assembled myself. I thought about my mother's house in Pasadena, the house she was about to lose because she'd spent 7 years living beyond her means and expecting me to cover the difference. I thought about Vanessa, who'd lived rent-free for 7 years and contributed nothing. I thought about Derek, who drove a Tesla and wore a Rolex but couldn't help his future mother-in-law with property taxes. And I thought about myself, 29 years old, a business generating $47,000 a month, a beach house worth $1.1 million, a net worth of $1.68 million. So I'd built all of it in secret because I knew what would happen if they found out. They'd ask for money. They'd treat my success as their safety net. They'd expect me to fund their choices. I'd been right. I stayed at the beach house for 3 days. I worked from the deck. I walked on the beach. I ate takeout from a taco shop 2 blocks away. I didn't turn my phone on. On March 19th, a Friday, I drove back to Glendale. I turned my phone on in my apartment parking lot. I had 47 missed calls, 31 from my mother, 12 from Vanessa, 4 from Derek. I had 38 text messages. I read through them. My mother: the bank is moving forward with foreclosure. I have 30 days. Vanessa: Derek and I can't get married if Mom loses the house. And we were going to live there. Derek: can we please talk about this like adults? My mother again: I spoke to a bankruptcy attorney. He said I should file Chapter 7. I'll lose the house, but at least the debt will be cleared. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I called my accountant, David. I need to buy a property. Another one? My mother's house. It's going into foreclosure. I want to buy it at auction. Why would you do that? Because it's worth $980,000 and the lien is $11,470. If it goes to auction, I can probably get it for $400,000 to $500,000. That's a $480,000 profit minimum. And your mother. She'll be evicted. She'll have to find somewhere else to live. You're okay with that? She told me to move out so my sister could move in. She's made her choices. I'm making mine. We spent the next week preparing. I researched the foreclosure process in Los Angeles County. Properties with tax liens go to auction approximately 90 days after the notice is filed. My mother's notice had been filed on March 1st. The auction would be sometime in early June. I set up a bidding account. I secured a cashier's check for $600,000. I researched comparable sales in Pasadena. Houses on my mother's street were selling for $950,000 to $1.1 million. If I could buy hers for under $500,000, I'd have instant equity of at least $450,000. On March 28th, my mother called me from a number I didn't recognize. Maya, how did you get this number? I'm calling from Vanessa's boyfriend's phone. You blocked my number. I had, 2 weeks earlier. What do you want? I filed for bankruptcy. Chapter 7. The attorney said, I'll lose the house, but my other debts will be discharged. I wanted you to know. Okay. That's it? Just okay? What do you want me to say? I want you to help me. I can't help you. You mean you won't? I mean, the help you need isn't money. It's a budget. It's discipline. It's living within your means. I can't give you that. You have to do it yourself. I don't know how. Then figure it out. You're 58 years old. You've had plenty of time to learn. She hung up. On April 15th, I received a notice in the mail. The property at address in Pasadena, California, was scheduled for foreclosure auction on June 3rd, 2025, at 10 a.m. at the Los Angeles County Hall of Administration. I marked it on my calendar. On May 20th, 2 weeks before the auction, Vanessa sent me an email. Subject: please read. Maya, I know we haven't talked in months. I know you're angry. I know I haven't been fair to you. But I'm asking you to reconsider. Mom is losing her house. She's going to be homeless. She's your mother. She raised you. She sacrificed for you. You have the money to help her. Please, just this once. Help her keep the house. I'm begging you. Vanessa. I read the email twice. Then I deleted it. On June 3rd, 2025, at 9:47 a.m., I walked into the Los Angeles County Hall of Administration carrying a cashier's check for $600,000. The auction room was on the second floor. There were approximately 30 people there, investors mostly. A few families trying to save their homes. My mother wasn't there. Vanessa wasn't there. I assumed they didn't know the auction was today. The auctioneer called the properties one by one. When at 10:33 a.m., he called my mother's address. 3-bedroom Spanish-style home, 1,640 square feet, Built in 1948. Opening bid is the amount of the lien, $11,470. I raised my hand. $11,470. Someone else bid $50,000. I bid $100,000. They bid $150,000. I bid $200,000. They stopped. Going once, going twice, sold to bidder 27 for $200,000. I just bought my mother's house for $200,000, a house worth $980,000. Instant equity, $780,000. I completed the paperwork in 45 minutes. The property would officially transfer to my name in 10 business days. I drove back to Glendale. I sat in my apartment. I didn't call my mother. I didn't call Vanessa. I waited. On June 14th, 2025, the property officially transferred to my name. I received the deed in the mail. I owned the house in Pasadena. On June 15th, when I hired a property management company to handle the eviction process, my mother had 30 days to vacate. On June 18th, my mother received the eviction notice. She called me from Vanessa's phone. "Maya, what did you do?" "I bought the house." "You what?" "I bought it at auction. It's mine now." "You can't do that." "I already did." "This is my house." "It was your house. You lost it because you didn't pay your property taxes. I bought it legally." "You bought it to punish me." "I bought it because it was a good investment." "I have nowhere to go." "You have 30 days to figure it out." "Maya, please." "You told me to move out in 2 days so Vanessa could move in. I'm giving you 30 days. That's more than you gave me." "I made a mistake." "Yes, you did. Please don't do this. It's already done." She hung up. And on July 14th, 2025, my mother moved out of the house in Pasadena. She moved into a 2-bedroom apartment in Alhambra with Vanessa and Derek. Rent, $2,400 per month, split 3 ways. I never visited. On July 20th, I listed the Pasadena house for rent, $3,800 per month. It rented in 6 days to a family relocating from San Francisco. After property management fees, taxes, insurance, and mortgage, I'd taken a small loan to cover renovations. I was netting $2,100 per month, plus building equity on a property worth $980,000 that I'd purchased for $200,000. On August 3rd, 2025, Vanessa sent me one final email. "I hope you're happy. You destroyed this family. Mom cries every day. Derek and I had to postpone our wedding because we can't afford it now. You took everything from us. I hope it was worth it." I read the email. Then I replied, "I didn't take anything from you. You never had it. You just expected me to give it to you. There's a difference." I never heard from her again. It's been 8 months since I lost my job at North Star Digital Marketing. Torres Media Consulting now has 16 clients and generates $61,000 per month in revenue. I have $1.14 million in the business account. My net worth is $2.3 million. I'm 29 years old. I own 2 properties. I run a business I love. I work from my beach house in Oceanside 3 days a week and from my apartment in Glendale the other 4 days. I haven't spoken to my mother in 8 months. I haven't spoken to Vanessa. I don't know if I ever will. But I know this. I'm not responsible for their choices. I'm not required to fund their mistakes. I'm allowed to protect what I've built. My mother had 7 years to get her finances in order. She chose not to. Vanessa had 7 years to contribute. She chose not to. They made their choices. I made mine. If you're watching this and you've ever been treated like a family ATM, if you've ever been guilted into funding someone else's irresponsibility, If you've ever been told you're selfish for having boundaries, I need you to hear this. You don't owe anyone your financial security. Not your parents, not your siblings, not anyone. Helping is a choice. Enabling is a trap. Know the difference. My grandfather left my competitor in one of these stories a letter. My mother left me a car payment. I chose differently. Thank you for staying until the end. If this story resonated, if you've ever had to choose between family guilt and your own future, leave a comment. Tell me your story. Hit like if you believe boundaries aren't cruelty. Subscribe if you want more stories like this. And comment where you're watching from and what time it is right now. Take care of yourselves. And remember, the people who call you selfish for protecting yourself are usually the ones who benefited from you having no boundaries.